You've just been hit by a setback. It could be a project you poured your soul into that just failed, a crucial presentation that didn't land, or a simple, cutting remark from someone you respect that has now taken root in your mind. The physical sensation is immediate and undeniable, a tightening in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a hot flush of shame or anger. Your mind in an instant becomes a chaotic theater, replaying the moment of impact on a relentless loop. The inner critic's voice, once a whisper, is now screaming, dissecting your every perceived flaw. This is the moment of emotional hijack, a state the Stoics knew intimately, not as a sign of weakness, but as a fundamental challenge of the human condition. Epictetus, a man who endured the brutalities of slavery before becoming one of antiquity's most revered philosophers, didn't just teach his students to passively endure such moments. He equipped them with a tool for an immediate, powerful pivot. This is what we call the Epictetus's momentum lever, a precise mental algorithm designed to reclaim your inner citadel the very instant it comes under siege. To understand its power, we must first look at what's happening inside your brain. When a setback strikes, your amygdala, the brain's ancient hypervigilant alarm system, triggers a threat response. It cannot distinguish between a physical danger, like a predator, and an emotional or social danger, like public failure. It simply screams, "Danger." This initiates a cascade of stress hormones. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your system, preparing you for a primal response: fight, flight, or freeze. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, and blood is diverted from your prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought, planning, and self-control, to your muscles. You are, in a very real biological sense, temporarily less capable of clear thinking. This is why the automatic reaction is often to lash out, withdraw and avoid, or sink into helpless rumination. This cycle, left unchecked, digs deeper neural grooves, making this reactive state your default response to adversity. But Epictetus offers a circuit breaker, a question that serves as a call to your mind's highest self. What is in my power and what is not? This isn't a philosophical abstraction. It's a direct command to re-engage the prefrontal cortex. It forces a pause in the amygdala's frantic signaling. The practice, therefore, begins not with solving the problem, but with calming the nervous system. The first step is the deliberate 60-second pause. This is non-negotiable. The moment you feel that internal lurch, you stop. You consciously slow your breathing. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4, and exhale slowly through your mouth for 6. This is a direct biohack. Longer exhalations stimulate the vagus nerve, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest mode. It is the physiological antidote to the fight or flight response. As you do this for a full minute, you are not trying to stop your thoughts. You are simply observing them, letting them pass like clouds in the sky without attaching to their emotional charge. You are creating a space between the stimulus and your response. Within this newfound space, you apply the lever. You mentally identify the precise point of the setback, not the story you're telling yourself about it, but the objective event. The client rejected the proposal. I missed the deadline. He said those words. Now you apply Epictetus's dichotomy of control. You create 2 mental columns. In the not in my control column, you place the external events, the client's decision, the past fact of the deadline, the other person's opinion. Acknowledging this is profoundly liberating. You stop wasting precious mental energy trying to change what is fundamentally unchangeable. In the in my control column, you place what the Stoics called your prohairesis, your faculty of choice, your judgments, your volitions. This is where the pivot happens. You consciously choose your interpretation of the event. Is this a catastrophe, or is it a data point? Is this a declaration of your worthlessness, or an opportunity to learn? Then you choose your action, not a grand, overwhelming plan to fix everything, just one small, manageable step that is entirely within your power. It could be drafting a 1-sentence email, closing your laptop and walking around the block, or writing down one thing you learned from the experience. This is the mental pivot in action. You are redirecting the flood of stress-induced energy from aimless anxiety into purposeful action. This isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about transforming it. The pain of the setback becomes the fuel for a deliberate, controlled, and resilient response. Do today. The very next time you face a minor frustration, spilling coffee, hitting traffic, a miscommunication, don't dismiss it. Use it as a training ground. Institute the 60-second pause. Breathe. Mentally sort what you can and cannot control. Then consciously choose your perception and identify one single constructive next action. Even on this small scale, you will feel a measurable shift. You will feel the heat of irritation cool into the clarity of focus. You are not just managing a moment, you are forging a new neurological habit. You are teaching your brain that you are the one in command, the calm strategist in the citadel of your mind, not a helpless subject of your fleeting emotions. How quickly can you re-engage your inner compass?
That initial pause, that 60-second pivot is your emergency brake. It stops the runaway train of emotional reaction. But how do you move from simply to consciously and skillfully navigating the track ahead? From that initial moment of reclaimed calm follows the work of the architect. You must deconstruct the setback with precision to build a stronger foundation for your next move. A vague sense of everything is wrong is a primary driver of anxiety. It presents the brain with an amorphous, unsolvable threat. Cognitive behavioral therapy shows us that specificity is the antidote to this kind of overwhelming anxiety. By breaking a large, intimidating problem into smaller, manageable components, you reduce its perceived threat and restore a sense of agency. This is where we evolve Epictetus' simple dichotomy into a more granular, modern tool, the 3 circles of control. This mental model allows you to map the terrain of your challenge with the clarity of a seasoned general, transforming a chaotic battlefield into a structured plan of action. Imagine 3 concentric circles. The innermost circle is full control. The middle circle is partial influence. The outermost circle is no control. After your 60-second pause, you take the setback and begin to sort its components into these 3 domains. Let's use a concrete example. You delivered a presentation to leadership and it was met with harsh criticism, putting your project's future in jeopardy. The untrained mind lumps this all together as "I failed." This is a cognitive distortion called overgeneralization, and it's a recipe for despair. The trained Stoic mind begins to sort. In the outer circle, no control, you would place the CFO's bad mood that day, a competitor's surprise announcement that morning which shifted the company's priorities, the pre-existing biases of the committee members, and the fact that you cannot turn back time to change the presentation you already gave. Mentally placing these items here is a profound act of release. It's not about apathy, it's about strategic surrender. Your nervous system can finally stop pouring energy into fighting unwinnable battles. Research on stress shows that the feeling of helplessness is a major secretor of cortisol. By explicitly defining what is beyond your reach, you are directly reducing the physiological load of stress on your body. You are telling your brain, we can stand down on these fronts. Next, you move to the middle circle, partial influence. This is the domain of negotiation, collaboration, and strategic effort. In our example, this might include the final decision on the project's funding, your colleague's perception of your performance, and the timeline for a follow-up meeting. This circle requires wisdom and the serenity prayer spirit, the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Your strategy here isn't about brute force, but about skillful action. For each item in this circle, you attach a single proactive behavior. For influencing the funding decision, your action might be schedule a one-on-one with a key stakeholder to clarify their main objection. For colleagues' perception, it might be send a follow-up email thanking the team for their feedback and briefly outlining a revised approach. Notice how this shifts the brain from a state of passive worry to one of active problem solving. This targeted planning activates the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a region associated with executive function, which further dampens the amygdala's alarm bells. Studies in neuroscience have shown that the simple act of creating a plan, even before taking action, can reduce anxiety scores by a significant margin because it provides the brain with a predictable path forward. Finally, and most importantly, you focus on the innermost circle, full control. This is your sanctum, your citadel. This is the only domain that truly matters for your tranquility and your virtue. What goes in here? Not the outcome, but your effort. Not their reaction, but your action. Not their opinion, but your character. In this circle, you place your immediate response to the criticism, the thoroughness of your follow-up research, the integrity with which you conduct yourself in subsequent meetings, your commitment to learning from the feedback, and most fundamentally, the internal narrative you choose to adopt about this event. This is your kingdom. Here, you are sovereign. By focusing your primary energy on this circle, you anchor yourself in an unshakable foundation of self-efficacy. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are an agent of your own response. This systematic sorting process does more than just organize your thoughts. It rewires your brain's approach to adversity. It trains you to automatically seek out the levers of control in any situation, however small. The payoff is a dramatic reduction in rumination and a surge in mobilized, focused energy. Your anxiety about the monolithic failure transforms into a clear, actionable list of tasks. So, what is the most powerful tool you have for shaping what lies within that innermost circle? It is the story you decide to tell yourself.
You have paused. You have sorted the chaotic elements of the setback into what you can control, influence, and what you must release. The battlefield is no longer a swirling mess. It is a clear map. But the most powerful move, the one that separates Stoic resilience from mere crisis management, remains. It is the conscious act of choosing your perception. The event itself is neutral, a set of facts. The suffering, the despair, or the motivation it creates comes entirely from the judgment you attach to it. This is the radical insight at the heart of Stoicism. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private meditations, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This isn't a call for toxic positivity or denying the sting of failure. It is a declaration of your ultimate power, the power to frame the narrative. How do you turn a failure into fuel, an obstacle into an opportunity? You perform a cognitive reframing, a core technique of CBT that the Stoics were practicing 2 millennia ago. This process begins by challenging your automatic interpretation of the event. Your brain, wired for survival, has a powerful negativity bias. It will instinctively frame a setback as a threat, a sign of incompetence, or a harbinger of future failure. This initial story is often riddled with cognitive distortions. Words like always, never, catastrophe, and ruined are red flags. Your task is to become a gentle but firm interrogator of these first thoughts. Let's return to our presentation example. The automatic thought is, I failed. I'm terrible at this. My career is stalled. The Stoic reframing begins with questions. You can use a simple 3-question script. First, what is an alternative, more objective way to view this situation? Instead of I failed, try, the presentation did not achieve its primary objective. The feedback I received was harsh but specific. This shifts from a judgment of your identity to an observation of an outcome. It depersonalizes the event, making it something you can analyze rather than something you've. This act of relabeling is incredibly powerful. Neuroimaging studies show that when individuals label their negative emotions with precise, objective language, it decreases activity in the amygdala and increases activity in the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, a region involved in emotional regulation. You are literally calming your brain down by choosing better words. The second question is the cornerstone of growth. What can I learn from this? What opportunity has this obstacle created? This is the practical application of another of Marcus Aurelius's famous dictums. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The harsh criticism isn't just an attack. It's a high-quality data set. It reveals blind spots in your argument, weaknesses in your data, or a mismatch in your communication style with that specific audience. The obstacle, the rejection of your idea, has now created the opportunity to build a much stronger, more resilient proposal. It has given you a chance to practice humility, to receive feedback without ego, and to demonstrate your capacity for improvement. This is not a Pollyanna-ish search for a silver lining. It is a strategic search for leverage. You are transforming the event from a dead end into a launchpad. This mindset is the foundation of what modern psychologists call post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where people who endure adversity often report positive psychological changes in its wake. The Stoics understood that this growth is not an accident. It is the result of a deliberate, disciplined practice of perception. You are using the raw material of a setback to forge greater wisdom and strength. The third and final question solidifies the pivot. What would the person I aspire to be do right now? This question lifts you out of the reactive, wounded self and connects you to your highest values, your ideal self. Would the wise, resilient, and courageous version of you indulge in self-pity and rumination? Or would they thank their critics for the lesson, analyze the feedback dispassionately, and begin preparing their next improved attempt? This connects your immediate actions back to your core principles, your inner character. This is the essence of living a virtuous life, in the Stoic sense. Virtue isn't about moral perfection. It's about consistently choosing the noble, rational, and constructive response, especially when it's difficult. By asking this question, you are priming your brain for action that is aligned with your long-term goals and identity rather than your short-term emotional state. This perceptual shift, practiced consistently, does more than get you through a tough day. It fundamentally alters your relationship with adversity. Setbacks cease to be terrifying threats and become an expected and even valuable part of the path to mastery. This powerful reframing solidifies your resilience in the moment. But how do you ensure this becomes your new default, not just a one-time fix? This powerful reframing solidifies your resilience in the moment, turning a painful setback into a stepping stone. You've navigated the emotional storm and charted a new course. But the true goal of Stoic practice is not just to have a set of emergency tools. It is to fundamentally reshape your character so that resilience becomes your default state. How do you ensure this deliberate, wise response becomes as automatic as the initial flinch of anxiety once was? You achieve this through consistent, intentional practice. You must forge and reinforce the neural pathways of resilience until they are the most traveled roads in your mind. This is where we turn to the wisdom of Seneca and his powerful prescription for a daily integration ritual, the Stoic Evening Journal. This isn't mere diary keeping. It is a structured cognitive exercise designed to consolidate the day's lessons and prime the mind for the day to come. At the end of each day, before sleep, set aside 10 minutes of quiet reflection. Seneca advised asking himself a simple series of questions, which we can adapt into a powerful 3-part review. This practice serves multiple neurological and psychological functions. Firstly, it acts as a form of cognitive rehearsal. By reviewing your day through a Stoic lens, you are strengthening the neural connections associated with self-awareness, emotional regulation, and rational thinking. Over time, thanks to neuroplasticity, these circuits become more myelinated, coated in a fatty sheath that allows nerve impulses to travel faster and more efficiently. You are, quite literally, building a faster, stronger brain for handling adversity. Secondly, this ritual helps to prevent the rumination that so often sabotages sleep. By deliberately processing the day's events and extracting lessons, you give your brain a sense of closure, reducing the likelihood that unresolved anxieties will surface as you try to rest.
Improved sleep quality, in turn, is critical for emotional regulation and cognitive function the following day, creating a virtuous cycle of calm and clarity. The first question of your evening audit is, what did I do well today according to my own principles? This is not about external achievements. It's about your inner conduct. Did you successfully apply the 60-second pause when frustrated? Did you sort a problem into the 3 circles of control? Did you choose a constructive perception over a destructive one? By starting with this, you are practicing self-compassion and reinforcing your successes. You are training your brain's recognition system to notice instances of your own strength and discipline, building the self-efficacy that is so crucial for facing future challenges. Acknowledge these wins, no matter how small. This is your evidence that the practice is working and that you are capable of living by your own philosophy. The second question requires honest self-assessment without harsh judgment. Where did I fall short? Where did my judgments or actions deviate from my chosen path? Perhaps you reacted with anger to a minor inconvenience. Maybe you allowed yourself to be consumed with worry over something you could not control. The key here is not to berate yourself. Shame is a useless emotion. Instead, approach this with the curiosity of a scientist observing data. Interesting. At that moment, my automatic reaction took over. What was the trigger? What was the underlying belief that drove that reaction? This gentle analytical inquiry allows you to identify the specific cognitive habits that still need work. It's like a coach reviewing game tape with an athlete. You are not condemning the player for the mistake. You are identifying the flaw in the technique so it can be corrected in the next practice session. This process turns every misstep of the day into a valuable lesson for tomorrow. Finally, the third question closes the loop and sets your intention for the future. What can I learn from both my successes and my shortcomings, and how can I do better tomorrow? This is the integration step. You might conclude, I learned that my 60-second pause is very effective in the morning, but I tend to forget it when I'm tired in the afternoon. Tomorrow, I will set a simple reminder at 3 p.m. to check in with myself. Or, I see that my anxiety spikes when I think about that project's finances. Tomorrow, I will apply the 3 circles exercise specifically to that worry. This makes your self-improvement process concrete, iterative, and actionable. You are not just hoping to be better, you are creating a precise plan to be better. This nightly ritual, this closing of the day's mental ledger, is the forge in which a resilient character is built. It takes the abstract principles of Stoicism and embeds them into the fabric of your daily life. You end your day not with anxious, scattered thoughts, but with clarity, purpose, and a quiet confidence. You have audited your actions, learned your lessons, and prepared the ground for a more virtuous tomorrow. You are treating your mind like a garden, diligently pulling the weeds of unhelpful reactions and intentionally planting the seeds of wisdom and tranquility. You are not just recovering from setbacks, you are using them to become unbreakable.